Welcome into the channel, ladies and gentlemen, masculines and feminine. You've entered a zone where we're actually going to have a conversation that is give and take, listen and hear in this ongoing banter between the masculines and the feminines online in what I'm calling the war on the sacred feminine. Now keep in mind this label, this title, and these viewpoints are not only being expressed by me, but they are the viewpoints of a number of people, including females, both on and offline. I'm just here to give it a voice. So let's go. Now, I'm not just referring, by the way, to a physical war. Bombs, bullets, lieutenants, and armies. No. It's more obviously a psychological and emotional, very public war that seems to chip away at and constantly target the integrity of the sacred feminine, of females, of femininity in general. And the best way to really break this down into pieces is to take it one step at a time. I have here a slide. We're going into the psychology first. Misinformation will be next. The E-gangs, that is internet gangs, emotional immaturity, and of course, violent communication. Those are just 5 pillars, okay? 5 areas where the sacred feminine is being targeted and attacked. Let's start with psychology. First and foremost, and the many different ways that psychology is being used left and right to undermine the sacred femme. This clip, you can see 3 random YouTubers with very telling thumbnails and titles. And this is after a quick YouTube search, single women, finding relationships, one search I did, keeping men, and these are just 3 of about 50 or more videos with interesting titles, all pretty much saying the same thing, hashtagging why she can't keep a man, or why you can't keep a man, as seen on the top thumbnail here. Okay, a video created by a male, okay, explaining to the world why you can't keep a man. That is speaking to all women in general. I actually listened to the video. I couldn't get through it. It was difficult for me to respect the integrity of what was being said. I'll go into why. My disclaimer is I have no interest in what particular YouTubers choose to do for their income, whether it's for the clicks, the views, whether it's to follow trends. I'm not interested in that part. For the purposes of what it is I'm trying to show you, I want you to see for yourself how many videos that claim to be teaching or talking to women are being done by men with a specific hashtag why she can't keep a man. Okay, there's actually one where a woman jumps in. That happens sometime, and I have a separate video on that, how detrimental that is and why that's actually part of this massive problem. Here we have again another slide where there are several more videos. It's actually pulled up about 11. The screen is capturing 3. This one is more specific. Why Kylie Jenner can't keep a man. The modern woman and why she can't keep a man. Okay, whatever the modern woman is. I have a separate build on how misleading terms like modern women are. Simply because any woman born after 1965 will be considered a modern woman simply because of the year that she was born. If you break down the word modern, right, it's very time specific. And what I said in another video is to even use the term modern woman is so overgeneralized. It's such a broad stroke term to use it and be expected to, be taken seriously when speaking about different women, or be taken seriously when truly wanting to address a trend you're seeing, or you want to address, something that's happening with women that may not be healthy. It's very dangerous to use broad strokes. And I have another expert, actually, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, who specifically explains what I'm saying, right? That if you want to be considered an actual expert, you got to hone in and get really targeted on what it is you're talking about, okay? As opposed to using these broad stroke terms such as modern women, but it's trendy, it's a popular hashtag, and so of course the YouTube mafia is going to use it, okay? So more videos, let's continue. Here we have another 2 clips, okay? One with Tribe Report, or by the Tribe Report, the other one by Steven Speaks, okay? Now in the first video, why women can't keep a man today. I want you to pay close attention to the thumbnail here. Now this is actually supposed to be one of the dating coaches. I don't know what else he does for a living, but he's calling himself, a coach, expert, whatever the term. But I want you to pay attention to this thumbnail. Now I'm hoping this is a comedy clip. I hope that it is, because they're clearly having the time of their life. This is hilarious to them. Why women can't keep a man today. Which speak to what it is I'm saying. It speaks to why it is that, for kicks and giggles, right? If you're on your lunch break and you just want to be entertained, if this is the sort of thing that entertains you, fine. But when I go through these videos, and as I went through it, I'm actually looking for content to sort of balance out the conversation, or actually, gain some insight as to why a lot of relationships struggle the way that they do, right? It informs me as somebody who contributes to the conversation, but also just me in my life. When I look at content, I'm usually looking to walk away with something, but I found it particularly hard to take most of these men even halfway seriously. Okay, even halfway seriously. Now, Steven Speaks, I will give him some points, because at least in his videos, he does seek to balance things out. I mean, he's only a man himself. He's only going to be able to speak from his point of view. I do see a lot of leading content, a lot of content that's a bit self-serving, of course. And just as a disclaimer, a lot of these YouTubers are going to cater to what people are searching, cater to what's trending, cater to what people are asking. And so I don't lend all the blame on one particular YouTuber, but he is part of the trend. He's part of the trend of men when it comes to addressing why relationships don't stay together, or why relationships struggle. He's part of the group of men who lean towards the massive assumption that we need to just look at the woman. It ain't about why couples aren't staying together. Let's just ask why women can't keep a man today. Hashtag why women can't keep a man. Okay? If you were in a courtroom, the first thing you'd hear is objection. That's a leading question. Objection, that's a leading question. Why can't you keep a man? Why can't women keep a man today? Objection. What are we speaking of exactly? Are you addressing an actual couple? Are you speaking to them, or are you speaking to her? Questions like this wouldn't even hold up for a moment in an actual courtroom where you actually want to be taken seriously. Okay, but this is YouTube. We're dealing with the YouTube mafia. So people say what caters to, okay, or what is convenient for them in whatever cause that they're trying to promote. And so for whatever reason, the question why she can't keep a man is very trending. And my question is why? Is somebody hiding something, perhaps? Perhaps. I don't know, let's see. Do y'all remember this movie? Do you guys remember Runaway Bride? It was a movie, I think, in 2008, 68, was it? Somebody did the research. Okay, it's a movie long before this era right now. Okay, early 2000s, let's say. As I'm speaking, you can totally Google that. Runaway Bride, Richard Gere, Julia Roberts. It's their second movie together. Their first was Pretty Woman. Right? People love seeing these two, like, do the romantic comedies. This was a comedy, by the way. But it was a brilliant comedy to me. I saw this like twice or 3 times. It was a brilliant comedy because in this movie, right, they made the female the runner. Okay, long story short, Maggie, which was her character in the movie, had a bad habit of basically dumping her men when she would hit the altar, right? She'd date them for a while, basically be whatever they wanted her to be, okay? Get them to fall in love with her somehow, right? And then at the altar, right, she was split, she would jet, she's out. One time she ran out, the other time, I don't know, she dragged some kids around, the other time she rode a horse. It was a comedy, so of course they're gonna be extra, right? It's a comedy. But her pattern was every time she's at the altar about to get married, she would split. She would leave. And so this reporter guy saw something in the paper, he read about it, he found it fascinating, of course, that a woman would leave her own wedding and constantly just leave the man at the altar, right? So he decided to just dig, and he got pretty obsessed with it. Following her around, annoying her, right? It was part of the movie. Then finally Maggie confronts him and says, you know what, if you want the truth about me and why I keep leaving every man that I'm about to marry, why not just interview me? Why not ask me? Right? Light bulb. And so he did. And so the next half of the movie was him interviewing her and getting to know the actual her. Now, it's a romantic comedy, so of course, eventually they got closer, they fell into or grew into love and ended up getting married themselves, right? 1, 2, 3, happily ever after. It was a cute movie, right? The essence of the movie, the part that grabbed me, let's go back to this picture here, is that not only did they make the female the runner, but they made the person who's always leaving, right? The person that they put on the stand, meaning they questioned the runner instead of questioning the men who she kept leaving. No one went to those men and said, hey, yo, why can't you men keep a woman? Okay, every time she's about to marry you guys, she leaves. Why y'all can't keep a woman? No one said that in this movie. And now that I think about it, I understand why Hollywood didn't dare allow them to ask that question. See, they were being clever, but they actually exposed something very important. The one time that the female is the one who leaves, they decide again to question the woman. Why do you keep running? Had this been a man who left his women at the altar, had this been a man, there would be no interview. Nobody would ask him a thing. Had this been a man who left his women at the altar. In fact, they wouldn't even notice the trend. Because when a man leaves, it's considered a norm, the abnormal norm. It's normalized. People don't question when men leave. They turn around and they question the person that he left. But somehow in this movie, because they finally made the woman the runner, they turn around and question her, not him, and why he can't keep a woman. I found that fascinating, a bit brilliant if the writers did that on purpose. But it could also be Hollywood's way of deflecting, right? Because they understood that if they questioned him and said, why can't you keep a woman? Or they questioned those guys, it might get others to start questioning the runner as well. Here's what I mean by that. In a sensible world where a couple breaks up and a man leaves a woman or a woman leaves a man, if you're someone who's actually an expert, the first thing you're going to do is first ask the person who left why they left. They're the actionaire, after all. They took the action of leaving. Ask them why. And then you may even ask the woman, after asking her how she feels, which no one ever does, but you'll ask the woman, well, what's going on? Why do you feel he left? What was going on in the relationship? Were you happy? You start to question both. That's how I've seen it done. Any therapist who has any actual credential, okay, and results in helping couples, always, without a doubt, questions both parties. After all, you're trying to get to the bottom of a couple's problem. Not here. Not with social media, not with the YouTube mafia. They don't ask the essential questions that in real life, right, with real people who actually think. I know that sounds facetious, okay? Take it with a grain of salt. But real experts, will ask both parties. Now I have here frequent runner. And I know y'all been looking at this. In the case of this quote-unquote fictitious movie, she was a frequent runner. She didn't just leave Richard Gere. She left every man that she was about to marry. Let's bring it to real life. Let's look at some real life people who supposedly can't keep their men. Let's start looking into the man's history and find out where they're leaving someone could possibly be habitual. Remember these two? Halle and Eric Benet. Okay? The well-known Halle Berry and Eric Benet, who were together 7 years, married for 6 years, okay, wound up going their separate ways, who were all over the media, all over the tabloids, all over social media the moment they broke up. Okay? And even after the media learned the truth from both of them, just decided to spin it, just give it a little spin, right? In order to, what? Feed this narrative. Hashtag why she can't keep a man. Now, before I go to the next slide, make no mistake, Halle Berry would be considered, according to today's attractiveness charts, according to today's scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself? She'd be considered a 10. No doubt. Okay, she's been in several magazines. Okay, been labeled and called most beautiful person in the world, most beautiful woman in the world. Always making headlines. Okay, always getting massive exposure simply because she's beautiful. Okay, physically fit, gorgeous, pretty, soft, demure, very charming personality. I mean, she was basically your fantasy, okay? What guy didn't have a celebrity crush on Halle? What female didn't have a girl crush on Halle? Okay? Everyone was sort of in agreement on that. She might not have been your favorite actor or your favorite person, okay? But she was what men say women should all aspire to. She was kind of that prototype. And so given all of that superficial love we had for her, right, because that was basically based on how she looked, which it is what it is. That's part of the world we live in today, right? Given all that, the minute we hear something about her personal life, we start to tear in, scrutinize, and question her, Halle Berry, on why she can't keep a man. Never mind the fact that the woman went on national television in 2004, did a public interview with Oprah Winfrey. Okay? You can show the clip if you like, where she confirmed, as well as Eric confirmed, that not only was he repeatedly cheating with different types of women, but that he had a sex addiction. That he had a sex addiction, something that is very real. That therapists, psychologists, experts, they all talk about it. Okay, it's no different than any other addiction, something that you do in excess, something that's imbalanced, that you lean on in your weaker moments or whatever the case is. I'm not just like, the expert on that topic, but she confirmed before America and the world really that Eric was dealing with that type of problem. That when she realized he had stepped out of the marriage, he confessed and he admitted that there were several women. And so she finally musters up the confidence, okay? The confidence, because she was lying to herself and she admitted to us that she was in denial. And even when she saw it in the headlines, she thought maybe they were just lying, right? Go ahead and watch that interview. I actually remember it like it was yesterday. That when he finally confessed to her the problem that he was having, she had a breakdown, but she also almost had a sigh of relief because she was blaming herself for him having such an insatiable, quote unquote, appetite, or for him not being able to control and manage his urges, aka a man being ruled by his lower nature. I'll cover that in a few minutes. Even after America got the confirmation that Eric was the one having a problem, we still went ahead and started to tear into Halle with all this noise, all these distractions, right? Making her the focus and why she couldn't keep a man. So basically all of the internet and YouTubers, right, as a whole, pretty much ignored the facts. And to that I only have one question. Are these YouTubers experts, really? Or are they just arrogant? Because from the way I see it, if they were experts, they would have done a little homework, like I did. And not only look into a little bit of Halle's history, but also into Eric's history. Even beyond the interview with Oprah, right? Just to be thorough, just to be fair. And so just with a very simple YouTube search, Eric Benet's dating history. I believe there's a website called Who's Dated Who, something of that nature. And on that website, his most recent partners, to be accurate, 6 of them pulled up right away. His last 6 marriages, actually, he was married to 3 of them. The others were just long-term relationships. I want you to take a look at this closely. I'm going to see if I can, I've made it as big as I possibly could. But zoom in, if you can, to not only the names of these women, but the dates. Okay, if we want to be thorough, then be thorough. If you want to make claims, then back them up. These are Eric's last 6 women or wives that we know of. And this is not counting the different women he explored while he was married to Halle. This is outside of Halle's marriage. First, there was Essence. She's an actor. I recognize her pretty well. There's no time frame, but it says they were in a moderate term relationship. It doesn't say much about those 2. It's just the first one that pulls up. But they were together. I pulled it up. I pulled up both their names. There were several pictures. He dated this woman. Okay? And it was serious enough for her to even be cited as part of his past. Let's move on to Tammy. I'm going from the bottom left, working my way up. Tammy Benet. He actually married Tammy. And I'm not going to scrutinize or go too deep into them. I understand this is one of his first marriages. Okay, that she was a lovely person, which I'm sure she was. He married her. She took his last name. They were married 5 years, which means what? They had to be together a little longer than that, right? You don't just marry someone the day that you meet them. You marry them after being together for a little while. So they were together at least 5 years, from 1988 to 1993, at least. They actually had a daughter, India. She's actually holding India. It doesn't show that in this picture, but you can kind of see it. That is Eric Benet. Her name is Tammy Benet. That was his first known marriage after Essence, from 1988 to 1993. The next person is Julia Riley. This one confuses me a little because she seems much older than him, but I could care less about those details. I researched this twice. He was with this woman for 3 years. Don't know what it was about, but you can find this information. It's public knowledge. So after the marriage to Tammy, he went into a 3-year relationship with this woman. After that 3-year relationship, he meets and marries Halle Berry. Halle Berry and Eric were married 1999 to 2005. That's 6 years of being legally married. What did I say earlier? You don't just marry someone the day you meet. So Halle and Eric were together at least 6 years. Okay, and so for average's sake, we can round off to 7 because they were seen in the news long before they actually got married. They were seen around dating together. You can check this stuff out. You do not have to believe, okay, anything that I'm saying just because I'm saying it. Actually go on who'sdatedwho.com or any other website. So far, Halle's actually the longest relationship so far up until this point. Anyway, together at least 6 years. After that was Mariah Carey. Oops, actually, wait a minute. If you look at the dates, look at them closely. Look at the dates of Mariah Carey being with Eric Benet. It says 2000 to 2003. I should have circled this. Now, if you're good at math, you already can see right away that this relationship with Mariah happened while he was still married to Halle. Okay, he married Halle in 99, stayed with her to 2005. How does he get with someone in 2000 and stay with her to 2003? And what's even more alarming, it's not that this happened. I don't care what people do. I'm just shocked that no one actually spoke on this. Mariah Carey is not someone sitting in a corner. She's well known. Okay, he dated Mariah for 3 years. It's on record while he was legally married to Halle Berry. And I don't see one video on that. An open affair, if you want to call it. Whatever, I'm not even going to go into what we're going to call it, but he was dating Mariah Carey, a well-known name, singer, internationally known, while he was married to Halle Berry. There's not one video questioning Eric about it or tearing into him, even though he openly stepped out on his wife. We want to question Halle. Let's move on to Manuela. Manuela Testolini. She's actually Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince. That's Prince's ex-wife. Okay, and as per my research, he's still with her now. They got together in 2007. There's no end date, because like I said, he's still with her now. Okay, Google her name. That's his current girlfriend. This is all Eric Benet. Mind you, I pulled these up, which means these are what's on record. Okay? his last 6 relationships. Now let's get even more thorough. Let's do some averages. And I'm doing this for a reason because I want to get into the habit, at least on this channel, not only on thinking, but actually being truthfully fair. Like, be fair so that everyone can see you. Okay, you see the website that I'm on? Go to it on your own. Don't just listen to what, YouTubers want to rant about just to suit themselves or suit whatever they're pushing. On average, between 3 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, and that one is a little more than the 6 years it is with Halle, do some averages. 3, 5, 6, and more than 6. What's the average? Off the top of my head, he's with a woman on average 4.5 years. On average. His dating average is to be with a woman 4.5 years and move on to the next. Stay with me carefully on this. Shout out to Jay-Z for writing this song. On to the next. On to the next. Go ahead on YouTube and listen to On to the Next. At least Jay-Z was trying to put out the truth a little bit. Okay, I'm not endorsing artists or actors, but On to the Next is literally a lifestyle. It's a mentality. It's a spell. The reason I say spell is because anything you keep hearing over and over and over and over again places you under a spell if you don't have the wherewithal to resist it. This is one of many, many, many rap songs that pump into these young men this on to the next haphazardous, whimsical, wildly disrespectful lifestyle. Not only disrespectful to women, but to yourself. To be fickle, here one day, gone the next, to get bored at the drop of a penny, and to look for any little reason to move on to the next in your relationship. Don't believe me? Check it out. What I said earlier about living according to your lower nature and or being ruled by your lower nature, your ego, your arrogance, your urges, your sexual cravings, okay, your base 2 chakras. We have 7 chakras. Not just 2. The society constantly encourages our young men to live according to their urges, get short-tempered, okay, fickle, and move on to the next at the drop of a hat. This diagram, just a little clip of the limbic brain, the neocortex, and the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain representing that part of our brain that causes us to lean into our lower nature. Men and women have it. When you're in your lower nature, you're in your ego, you're in your head, you're in your sexual urges, you're in fight or flight, you're not thinking clearly. Most men, if I could venture a roulette, wild guess, are encouraged to lean into their reptilian brain, lower nature, and move on to the next at the first opportunity. Period. As a disclaimer, not all my findings are going to apply to all men. There are men who are learning to be in control of their lower nature, learning to direct their thoughts, balance out their lives, move into their heart space. It is slowly happening. I can name at least 3 channels who are finally starting to have the conversation in a way that's fair and more balanced. They're just scratching the surface. And off the top of my head, the roommates, Infinite Waters, right? Although, yes, he will use viral topics to speak on, I can say at least with those 2 channels, you don't walk away feeling like stripped or, you know, kind of deflated or disempowered, okay? At least not 99% of the time. None of these YouTubers who are men are perfect or near perfect in their delivery. Of course, they're men. They're going to only be able to lean into what they experience as men. And so some of the advice will be, you know, to women. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it neutral and say, well, at least these two are starting the conversation in a way that we can actually take and move forward with without feeling attacked, without feeling outwardly disrespectful. Most of the time. I know with roommates, they have regular conversations speaking to men with each other and how they can actually provide more, just be better men, move into responsibility, which is good. I've been literally calling for that for years and wondering why there's so many femme circles, but there are no like fraternal conversations where men are speaking to men about men and kind of lifting each other up the same way we have laid that foundation and sort of been doing that as women. There are femme circles, femininity circles, you know, it's just all over the place. And, you know, in ancient times, men did that too. Okay, some of the first groups that were spiritual were fraternal orders, Masons. They had brotherhoods where they talked to each other. And honestly, if we're going to look at this problem and really be honest about it, some of the things that are happening with men, the problems they're dealing with, have to be addressed with each other. Because no matter what we say as women, there's still going to be a part of you that is going to feel condescended or not going to really receive it from a woman, or perhaps based on your religion, you're going to be inclined not to respect it. All that being said, okay, to each their own. Okay, people live different lifestyles. But in reality, even if you keep it, you know, just keep it really basic and use common sense, things that pertain to women, right, for the most part, should be spoke about amongst women. Okay? And I can do a whole other build on how many femininity circles have been bombarded and infiltrated by, you know, males jumping in and throwing in their 10 cents, you know, in wildly disrespectful ways. And just the question remains, why would you even want to be in a sister circle while they're talking? Or that's like me walking into a men's room and just sort of continuing the conversation. Like I'm not welcome there. It's not for me. What's going on in the men's room doesn't pertain to me. Why would I want to be there? And so that's a whole nother conversation. I actually heard other men say that, and I'm happy about that we need to kind of respect each other's spaces and then rebuild those spaces. Okay, now I could go on and on and on because I've been in at least 3 sororities myself, and I do see that as a redundant issue, right? Women not being confident enough in their own voices, and keeping those circles as tight-knit, keeping private groups going. It doesn't mean we hate men. It doesn't mean you're never going to be a man. It doesn't mean just because single women or women who are married talk to each other that the conversation is about men or the conversation is against men. It was a natural thing. It's a natural thing. Everything doesn't pertain to each and all, right? And so if we're really going to talk about modern women or modern men versus organic masculinity and femininity, there's a problem called modern men as well. I don't ever remember growing up, you know, men having anything to say when women are talking about each other's hair. Like they'd be somewhere else. You know what I mean? Joking around in a room, watching something. Just men should be able to be men and relax when women want to huddle up and talk to each other. Okay? Organic men never did that, which is a whole nother conversation. But just to wrap this up, guys, it's been my pleasure to do this video. This is actually just the part 1, because as I'm speaking, there's so much more coming up. But I hope if you watch till the end that you not only see what I've laid out, but your mind is churning and you're starting to see how you can contribute to this conversation. What other ways have you seen, people falling under a spell, right? What videos can you think about? What conversations do you see where it's just too much? There's this imbalance. People calling themselves experts. They're really coming on here to promote and push this agenda, to hide the fact, okay, that young men coming up, instead of learning to manage and take control of their lower nature, they're looking for every excuse in the book, every reason to point the finger at women, right? They're looking to make noise so that nobody asks the right questions. We're not about blaming men or blaming women. We don't have to do that. But couples' problems need to be addressed in a balanced way. That's the whole purpose of having couples. And if you want to be men or be called men and have the respect and have people submit to you, then that comes with actually having to step up as a man. And part of that is taking responsibility when your relationship breaks apart. Taking your part in the responsibility. Not leaning into what's convenient, making a whole bunch of noise about why she can't keep a man. I heard that Halle Berry addressed it openly on Twitter. I would not even have addressed it, honestly. Unless I felt comfortable doing so, but it's such a leading, irresponsible question. Do people break up? Have a conversation with the couple. After all, responsibility is a part of manhood, so we can't have it both ways. And going back to the purpose of this whole video, the war on the sacred feminine, I firmly believe that it is a war. It's a psychological, emotional war, chipping away at the self-confidence and self-esteem at the sacred feminine, at femininity in general, okay, which I'll get into on part 2. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Your comments are welcome. Like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Peace and blessings.